rebuilding and replication of it with Parks Canada.
Hi, hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle. Poppy is my rabbit, and I now have 2 cats. My last video was a summer-long project. I started reading all of Anne of Green Gables before our trip to Prince Edward Island. I started June 28th. I looked at my Goodreads. So I started rereading Anne June 28th, and then I finished Rilla on the boat to Prince Edward Island on September 29th. So 3 months. I read the entire series in 3 months, which is actually quite a feat. I was also reading other books during that time for various book clubs, just what I felt like picking up, but primarily reading Anne. I wanted a separate dedicated Anne vlog because I wanted it to be Anne, Prince Edward Island exclusively. We didn't just go to Prince Edward Island. We also went to Nova Scotia. We went to Halifax. We drove up along the coast. We stopped at the Walton Lighthouse. I'll talk about that a little bit. And we took the ferry to PEI, and then we came back and we drove through New Brunswick. We stopped at Peggy's Cove. We stopped at Oak Island for the aficionados in our lives. And we finished out the trip in Lunenburg and then back in Halifax. So that was our trip. And obviously I got more books there. I didn't even go to a single bookstore in Halifax, and I still did a lot of damage. These are all from Lunenburg, but let's see the stack. Let's do it. Okay, it's not as big as the Anne stack. Let's start with the souvenir that I got in Nova Scotia. I went over some of my Anne souvenirs I got, and this is a PEI sweatshirt. I sadly didn't see one I liked in Nova Scotia. I got a very important souvenir in Nova Scotia. I got this at the Fisheries Museum in Lunenburg. You can buy him everywhere. They also had it at the Citadel, but I got mine at the Fisheries Museum. This is Big Blue. He's named after Blue Nose because people in Nova Scotia are called Blue Noses. I learned this in the Anne book, and it's everywhere. There's a boat, there's like, go to Nova Scotia, it's everywhere. So my husband looked it up, and it's said it's because they are seafarers and they get a blue nose, so they're called Blue Noses. But look at my little lobster. It's Big Blue. One of his whiskers is longer than the other whiskers, and he's a little magnet. And as I said in my last video, I became 90% lobster roll, but he says Nova Scotia, and he makes me really happy. So that's what I got in Nova Scotia. He walk you through the trip, he walk you through my journey. So we got to Nova Scotia and we went to a park. I don't remember what it's called, but we got in. I fixed my phone. You know how it wasn't working in Ireland? There was a setting thing, and now that I have Verizon, I figured it out. Also, my phone is in Spanish, so it was a little bit tricky, but I did it. We went to a park and walked around. It was amazing. We got to see all the trees. We got to go down to the harbor. There was a seal that we couldn't really see because we didn't have binoculars, but it was there. And then we went to the Brown Hound pub and had a lovely dinner. I had my first fish and chips on the coast. It was very good. Then going up to PEI, we had planned a little like road trip through Nova Scotia. We really wanted to see the colors, being it was fall. So we drove off and we just pulled off the highway wherever we damn pleased. So we ended up going to Walton Lighthouse. Wasn't in the plan. It ended up being amazing. It was once the biggest port outside of Halifax, which was super cool. But we met this man. His name was William. He is fireman Bill. He's the groundskeeper at the Walton Lighthouse. And he spent an hour and a half with us. He told us about rocks. He told us about the mining quarries there. He told us about the shipping. He told us about the tides. He knew everything, but yeah, just Nova Scotian through and through. There was a lovely lady there that worked at the gift store. I forgot, we did get something else. Everything in the gift shop was handmade by local artists, but we got to go up in the lighthouse. We learned a lot about the lighthouse keepers, and we got to crank the shaft. I felt like Jim from the Anne books. It was amazing. We spent too much time there. We spent too much time at the Walton Lighthouse. So we were booking up to the ferry, and then we stopped in Pictou. We had a bit of a snafu in New Glasgow, so we were trying to go to a lunch spot in New Glasgow. It was closed for renovations, which is like good time because it's off season. So we went to Pictou, and we went to a little restaurant there where I had my first lobster roll and began the transformation. Inhaled it because we needed to get on that ferry. So we got in line, we got on the ferry, and I talk about PEI in my other vlog. We'll talk about the other lighthouse. We'll talk about because this was still that same day. So we went to Point Prim, which I highly recommend. They were open like 10 more minutes. Also lovely. Everybody we met there, so lovely, so kind. Stopped at Point Prim, and I went to the gift shop. Duh. And Brian was reading the history. No. I went in, I was speaking with a woman. She was from the UK originally, moved to Saskatchewan for like 20 years, and now she's been PAI for 15 years. And she spends all her money at the Point Prim gift shop because they have beautiful art there. I'll show you what we got. This is an original watercolor of that lighthouse. It was done by the granddaughter of the lighthouse keeper. I don't know if he was the last one. It's called Sunset Tide Pools, and it's an original watercolor. Watercolor has the U in it. It's by artist Kathy Merchant, and her website is Crow, K-R-O, in the sky, SKYE.com. I love it. And she does beautiful stained glass. I didn't think it would travel well because this was in the frame already, ready to go. Very reasonably priced, but they had great artwork in there, and I only had 10 minutes, which is probably good because I would have done a lot more damage. So this is what we got. I'm excited to put it up and think of our Canada trip of PEI. I'll flash forward. If you want to hear all about my PEI adventures, watch that vlog. I also want to mention the B&B that we stayed at in Charlottetown. It was in on the harbor. The sweetest couple owns it. It's a bed and breakfast, first true bed and breakfast experience. They called it a special offer every morning, but they had the usual breakfast spread, like they had a buffet, but every morning they would make something hot. So our first morning there, it was French toast. It was beautiful. I put it in my other video, but I'll put it in again. It was very sweet. It was very good. They asked if I wanted tea, and I had a little teacup, and I had my dress on. And if you're in Charlottetown, check it out for sure. It was a great home base. There are a couple B&Bs up by the Anne house. It was more expensive, and especially during the off season, I'm very glad we didn't stay up there because a lot of the restaurants do close, and we hit the week. Some stuff had already closed, and some stuff was closing like that Saturday. So we really timed it quite perfect. Decided to take the bridge the next time, and then we could see like a little bit of a different route, go through New Brunswick. I will say the drive back like through Nova Scotia was less than ideal. I wasn't as enamored. I wasn't in awe that we were there anymore, and I was quite frankly sick of being in the car because the island was a lot of driving. It's a lot of driving to see it. You really need a car. If you want to do this trip, you need a car. We drove it was going smoothly, and we pulled off. We did a lunch stop, just like happened upon it. We were like 30 minutes from Halifax. We went to the Mill House. I got chicken parmesan. It was great. After that, unfortunately, we got stuck. No, I think it was after that. There was a lot of construction, and we went to Peggy's Cove. Someone told us that we should go. Honestly, it's very touristy. It was out of our way, but Ryan's like, yeah, let's do it. So we can say that we've been. I honestly don't know if it's super worth it. If you don't have a lot of time, you can skip Peggy's Cove. But if you are truly only going to Halifax and not to the island or the coast and other spots, like, yeah, it's a good spot to go. The appeal is it's so secluded. It's very touristy. We were there during off season. It was busy. Like, everywhere with the inns pretty much had vacancy signs because of the time of year it was. No vacancy there. A storm rolled in, it started raining. It was still beautiful, and I think it was fun with the storm coming in there. So we stopped at Peggy's Cove. Then after that, that's when we got stuck. We were completely stopped. They were doing blasting work on the highway. They're expanding the highway to more than, like, this is the main highway into Halifax, and it's 2 lanes with like a dotted yellow in the middle. Insane. So they're expanding that, and we were stopped the other way. It was crazy. Like, we thought we were gonna get stuck on it on the way back, but that just ate up a lot of our time. And then we did a quick pit stop on Oak Island, got a picture for our Oak Island aficionados. It was pretty close to Lunenburg, so stopped there, and we got to go to a cute little town and through the coast on the way in to Lunenburg. We went to breakfast both days at the Laughing Whale, a little coffee shop, and I brought my handbook and did my little reading. It was very fun. Pumpkin spice latte. The first day they had a pumpkin bar, very good. Second day I had a scone, which was also good. I have been dying to go to Lunenburg Bound. As you know, I started listening to Books on Bound with Ariel, Bissett, and Raylene. I started listening to Books on Bound. This is after we planned the trip, but before I decided to start rereading all of Anne. And as I was listening, I found out that Lunenburg was Ariel's like favorite place ever. Like, this is awesome. We're already going there. And after I started listening to them, I went. Ariel has been to every bookstore in Nova Scotia, and she has a webpage about it. So I went and looked, and I like laid out a couple that were in Halifax I wanted to go to, which sadly I didn't get to go to any, and then the ones in Lunenburg. I saw Lunenburg Bound, and I said, oh, like, I really want to go there. I was really excited. And then the literal week before I left, the episode about her wedding came out. She was married in Lunenburg. I was yapping for so long that my GoPro shut off. I've been talking for literally an hour. Half of that was the PI stuff, but poor baby. I think he just got too hot. He may have died. Not died, but like the battery's dead. I'll pick up where I left off. I was talking about the bookstores that I went to. I think it cut off. I met Michael of Lunenburg Bound. I got 3 books there. And then I also went to Blockshot Books where I met Jo, the owner, super nice, and she's also an author, which was so cool. I'm gonna go through all the books together because I kind of have them divided into categories. So we're gonna start with that. We're gonna start with the one I've already read. This is Half Breed by Maria Campbell. I knew as soon as Errol started talking and Raylene started talking and said she bought this book at Lunenburg Bound on Ariel's wedding. This is one of Ariel's favorite books of the entire year. I knew I had to get it. Michael gave me his jaunty stamp. Really, really good. It's about her experience being half Indian, half white, which she calls half-breed, growing up in Saskatchewan and her experiences. It's a memoir. It was a really nice tie-in while we were there. It was National Truth and Reconciliation Day that Tuesday that we were on PEI. And then the Fisheries Museum had an excellent exhibit on Indigenous peoples. The Citadel in Halifax also had a great exhibit. So this was a really nice tie-in and a really nice personal perspective, I highly recommend it. The next section is my Nova Scotian authors book. The first one I got this because there's a rabbit on the cover. The Witch of Willow Sound by Vanessa Penny. This is Nova Scotian horror book stories. Here's the bookmarks he gave us. Look how beautiful this book is. Yes, so I'm excited to get to that one. This feels good for spooky season coming up. The next two I got, also Nova Scotian authors, same press, but I got two poetry books. The first one, Come One Thing Another by Corey Lavender. This one is signed. I also got it at Lunenburg Bound. And then Folklore of Lunenburg County, poems by Michael Goodfellow. This one I got at Block Shop. The last little section, and these are the only two I got that were not by Montgomery B.I., Canadian author, or Nova Scotian authors, or just Canadian authors in general. I got Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott and Block Shop Books. Such a cute little bookmark. She didn't have a stamp, but she gave me stickers so I can put them in my book so I can always remember. And the other one I got was On Writing by Stephen King. When I say I've been searching and destroying for this one, here it is. And she said these two are some of her favorite books on writing and that she returns to the King book a lot. And next year I really want to read books on writing. So this is perfect, the perfect fit. We had a great section about writing, like a whole section about it. It was quite small, but very well curated. One of the best I've seen. The rest of the day we spent at the Fisheries Museum, which I really liked. It was right up Ryan's alley, and we finished out the day. We went on a sailboat and we sailed around Lunenburg. As the sun was coming down, we saw so many porpoises. As we were going back in, like, great shot, the lighthouse, the sky getting like sunsetty, and then the moon. It was so beautiful. And we had our last day in Halifax. We went to the Citadel. That was pretty much for that day, and walked along the wharf. Lovely trip. I really just wanted to show you all of my books, chat about it, and thank you so much for watching.